So in the previous session, we talked about how to define the output goal or how to identify the destination of your educational journey. So now I'll try my best really to help you how to assess the starting point, which is the most tedious part of this model, by the way. How to assess the starting point of the journey of your student. So the input state, as you know, it's the starting point of your journey. As well here, the aim of assessing the starting point is for three main objectives. So the first one is to know what kind of knowledge that your student has in the beginning of your learning process, in the beginning of that activity, in the beginning of that semester. Is it clear? In the beginning of their program even, right? So what are the knowledge that they do have in the beginning of the learning process? The second one is, what are the skills that your student have in the beginning of that activity or learning process? And then how your students are thinking, the way that your students are thinking. This is very, very important. So here also you have to identify what are the conceptual misunderstanding or difficulties that your students have in the beginning. Because based on that, I'm gonna design the appropriate activities or teaching strategies that can allow my students to move from the starting point to reach the goal that I set for them. And also here, there is one of the critical problems that we used to use. For example, that I'm teaching a course, and this course has a prerequisite course. So I'm gonna assume, and this is what we used really to do while designing the course syllabus and something like this. We used really to assume that since this student passed the previous course, so he's supposed really to have this and this and this, such kind of knowledge, and also such kind of skills. But do you think, when we come to reality, is it correct? Is it 100% correct? Excuse me. Yeah. So I'm going to ask the question again. When you come to your classroom, you are going to assume that since those guys passed that prerequisite course, they're supposed to have such kind of knowledge and also some skills to be able to do something, right? But when you come to reality, you may find something different, right? Is it because of the previous instructor? It's not mandatory to be that. It's not. So what shall I do then? So there is a need really to assess instead of assuming or depending on the assumptions of the prerequisite and our past experience. No, we have to assess. How to do that? There are so many activities can help you with that one. To have pre-test, let us say. Pre-test. And by the way, the Google task cards also can help you with that. For example, in the first lecture, if you'd like just to be sure that they do have some fundamentals or something like this, you can ask questions and then you can collect all the answers. Or just to see. Now the point is, what about if there is a very big gap? In this case, it's one of the challenges. The point that you raised. Yeah, this is a very complicated challenge for you really to overcome such kind of lack of the knowledge needed for your course. So in this case, if there is something that can be managed slightly, so you can help your student for sure. But if there is a huge gap between your expectation and the real knowledge or skills that your students have. So in this case, you as a department, as a system, should interfere. It may end up with a slight change in the degree plan itself, by the way, if there is something in there. Or you may have some additional activities for your students to fill the gaps. Also here, if you overestimate the capabilities of your students, so they will not be prepared for the course complexity. They are not ready because you assume that they do have such kind of knowledge, but they do not. So they have lower level of knowledge. So in this case, they are not going to be prepared for your syllabus or for your course design that you designed in there, because the activities that you set, it's based on your assumption, right? It's based on your assumption. So if your assumption is not correct, if your expectation was overestimated, so in this case, yeah, they cannot be with you or to be prepared for the complexity of your course. On the other hand, if you underestimated the capabilities of your students, so in this case, your students will lose their interest. You know why? Because your students will not get sufficient challenge in your course. So everything is straightforward and there is no challenges in there. And also here, this is one of the main important things which can summarize the whole training program. We have to do our best to interact with our students. Now, the interaction is not just by questions or something like this. No, it could be discussions, could be through some activities and something like that. By doing so, you will know more about your students. By doing so, you can design proper means to take your students from this point to that point. And also here, the success of the assessment depends on the learning environment, whether it's safe or not. Because you know, some of our students use not to ask any question. You know what? You know why? Because they don't want to have such kind of risk. It's a risk for them. It's a risk. Unless that they can feel comfortable, that they can ask any question, so then and only then you can say, yeah, I do have safe environment. Safe environment means just to feel free to ask any question. So there is a respect in there, and also they will gain something from that one. And also here, if you'd like really to build the confidence level of your students, so I would say especially for shy students or non-participant students, so I would recommend to start asking questions where the answers, all of them are correct. Means how? So I can show a figure in there and then ask them, okay, what do you see in that figure? Regardless his answer is correct, isn't it? It's correct. This is figure, so what do you see? It's correct, right? So by doing so, you are gonna initiate really the engagement of your shy students. Also, if you'd like really to increase or to improve their confidence level, you can ask another question as who can see the same thing? So by doing so, that shy student will find, okay, there are other students, they are having the same thought and something like that. So by doing so, he's gonna say, yeah, I'm not the only one who responded in that way or something like this. So, but by doing so, for sure, you are gonna promote their confidence level. Okay? And then they will
Normally we have a specified time for a lecture. Do you think that we can spend time out of your lecture to remove the shyness of the students in the class?
Thank you much. Thank you. So this is one of the main challenges that we used to say, which is covering the course content. I'll come to that point inshallah, maybe in the coming slides. And if still you have the same question, so you can ask that one if you accept this one. Okay? طيب. Next, here also, based on the assessment or the starting point of your students, so you can design the appropriate roadmap or the activities needed to take your students from here to there. Okay? And also here, this is one of the, let us say, one of the tips that can help you. Please don't fall in the same trap like our students. So if your students would like really to ask you a question, let them finish their questions. Because I know that we are smart enough as instructors. So my student, he's going to ask a question, something like this. So while asking the question, I'll get the keyword and then start answering that question. No, don't do it, please. Don't do it, at least for two main reasons. The first one is, you may not be able to answer the question in correctly and in appropriate way, because you have not really heard the complete question. So this is number one. And number two, you are gonna discourage. By doing so, you are discouraging your students indirectly. You know why? Because those guys might say, why shall I bother myself? And my instructor, he's not respecting my question. He's not hearing my question completely. You got my point? So please. And also here, the formal assessment also can help us really to know the starting point of our student in there. Also there is another tip also can help you, which is closer examination. Closer examination means what? Means try to be closer to your students to know what kind of knowledge that they do have. How do they think about something? By doing so, you will find some misunderstanding in there. Even with A students, yeah, maybe they did well in the exam, but when you ask him really about, what about this one? What if this is something like this, you will find some conceptual difficulties in there. So by having some sort of closer examination of your students, some sort of interaction with your students, you will find so many difficulties to be added to your process. And also once you find something or hear something, or there is a need really to have a reflection on their feedback, please don't hesitate. We have to have immediate response on time. You know why? Because I don't want really to leave my students behind while moving from the starting point to the destination there. So here another strategy which is known as think, pair, and share. And by the way, even those strategies, they are implemented in schools, in elementary schools. Yeah, when I heard it from my kids there, she said, yeah, this strategy is implemented in my school. Yeah, it's famous. But how can we use it? Ask a question to your student, ask a question, let them think, let us say for 30 seconds about that question, or 1 minute, and then let them pair with their peers in there in the classroom. You may say, yeah, we don't have mobile chairs, we don't have round tables in there. That's fine. We have, let us say, 3 fixed chairs together. So these 3 could be a group. You got my point? So we can do something. So let them think, and then another time to share, to pair, and then you can ask them to share their answer. You know what are the fruit behind this one? Believe me that every single student in there will have an answer immediately after this activity. Even for those who are less proficient students. You know why? Because they did get the opportunity really to interact with their peers. So at least they heard from their peers something. So, and then once you ask them, they will give you a feedback, right? And this is a good, really, strategy. So, since we don't have time, we are not going to practice it here. Unless you need to practice it. Do you need to practice it? It's very simple, by the way. How do you assess? So suppose this is the question. How do you assess the starting point of your students? So in this case, you have to think about it, and then you have to pair to have some groups, and these pairs could be, let us say, or to make, either to make a pair or to make a group in there, okay? And then just try to share ideas between both of you, and then you can share it if there is a need for that. Is it clear? So I'm going to ask now. Okay, please your hand if it is clear. Please your hand. Please raise your hand if it is clear. If not, I'm going to repeat it. Don't worry. Because I'm here really for you, to help you. It's clear, Doctor? Is it clear? Now, think, pair, and then share. So, which one is more efficient to use the strategy of think and share, or think, pair, and share? Which one is more efficient? Huh? Yeah, this one. Why? Because we have so many stops, right? Think, and then pair, and then share, right? So we have also another strategy known as think, write, pair, and share. Which one is more efficient? Think, pair, and share with 3 steps, or with 4 steps? With 4, right? Yeah. And also it was reported in the literature that if you give your students, let us say 3 or 4 minutes just to think, compared with if you give them 5 minutes, the same time, 3 to 4 minutes, to write something, you know that their scores were better by 2 letters, which is too much. 2 letters differences between just think or to write something. This is reported in one of the published papers in there. So, means what? Means if the average of those groups with just thinking without writing is a C, so it will be an A if you are going to use such kind of activities. Okay? For sure, plus minus. Okay? This is what was reported in the literature. Now coming to the third. Okay, now this is my starting point, or my goal in there. It was identified, defined well, and then I assessed the starting point. Assessing the starting point, as I said, is for 3 main objectives. The first one is to know what kind of knowledge that they do have, what kind of skills that they do have, and also the way that they are thinking. So 3 things, 3 legs in there. Suppose that I successfully really defined the output goal, and I successfully assessed the starting state of my student, then naturally I have to design some activities to move from the starting to the destination. And this is known as learning experience. It's the set of activities that you are going to use to move from the starting point to the destination. And also it depends on the initial and the output state. Okay, let me assume something in here. Suppose that you define your output goal, let us say for this pointer, to move from any point in there to this point. Okay? To move to this point, so to the line in here. And the pointer, when I assess the position of the pointer, so I assume that the pointer is in here, in this line. But actually the pointer is in here. And this is what I mean by assuming that your student having this kind of level of knowledge or skills, but in reality they are behind that. And then you are gonna you would like really to move that pointer to that point, right? Okay, so I'm gonna ask somebody, please sit here and take the pointer, bring it there. So do you think that the pointer will be there? Huh? Why? Because it's behind, right? It's behind. However, if you assess well that the pointer is in here, so then the means that you are gonna design will move this one to here. But also you have to evaluate your activities with time. And also here, it depends on the accuracy, as I mentioned in here. Yeah, the learning experience, you can deal with it as toolbox with so many activities. So try to pick some of these activities that can help you to move from the starting point to the destination. Some of them might be applicable for this objective, but some of them might not. Or some of them might be used with the modifications. So be smart, that's fine. Teaching strategies. Do you think that all the teaching strategies can be used for any objective? No. No. Next, if you are gonna design an activity, you should, within that activity, you should have some sort of opportunity for your student to practice. Means what? Suppose that the output goal is to solve double integration. To solve double integration, just to solve it. Okay? So in this case, you have, during this activity, you have to give your student an opportunity really to solve double integration. Right? Otherwise, they may misunderstand your expectations. Here, it will facilitate for sure the mental model for your students. And also there is no need really to discard your old material. So while moving from the traditional classrooms to the active classrooms does not imply that you have to discard all the old materials and I have to prepare from scratch and something like that. No. Knowledge is the same. And the question is, how should I use this knowledge? Not what kind of knowledge that I have to use. Is it clear? And also here, the interacting with the student can help you a lot, really, for the success of this learning experience. As I said, the activity that you design, if you feel that it might not work, so try to have some sort of changes on the fly change. Okay? So don't wait really till the end to see the fruit if you are 100% that it's not going to work. So here there is another activity which is like the previous one. Think, write, pair and share. How to do this? To suggest some activities to move from the input state or the starting point of your students for that activity or for that purpose that you already did in the previous one to reach the output goal in there. But here the activity is think, write, pair and share, which is more efficient than the previous one, isn't it? More efficient, صح? More efficient. طيب. So let me ask you one more question. If you'd like to have even more efficient technique, so if you'd like really to improve this one, so what are you suggesting? What do you suggest? You know this technique? Think, write, pair, and then share, right? So I'd like really to have even better technique. So what do you suggest? Yes? Huh? Add grading. So means to add one more step. That's fine. Yeah. So means here after sharing, so you have to grade to get reflection. Perfect. So means here reflection. So this is perfect. Means the more steps that you are adding, the more benefit that you can gain, right? By the way, I would say, okay, do you have any suggestion how to improve this one? Any suggestion from here? Any suggestion? is to add only one more step or two more steps or three more steps. That's it. How to do that? For example, you may say think, write, pair, and then write, and then share. Isn't better? I think it's better, right? Yeah, not better, but it will take time. Explain is sharing. It's sharing, yeah. Okay? Or if there is a way really to practice something, yeah, it's gonna be like this. Think, could be write, pair, practice, and then share or something like this. Yeah, if you have. But also here, yeah, I know that the more steps that you do have, the better understanding of our students will be. But we are limited with time. Thank you much. So this is now, if I'm going to ask you about, let us say, the learning model, the learning environment model. Is it clear to all of you? Does any of you has a question? Please. Okay, I can summarize it again. For the model, it has 3 steps. Define your output goal, and then assess your input state, and then design some activities to be used to move from the starting point to the end point. Is it clear? Okay, I'm going to ask you, please. If it is clear, raise your hand. If not, ask me your question. It's clear, Doctor? Clear. Huh? Professor in here? Excuse me. Is it clear? Clear, thank you. Clear. Ladies, clear? طيب, we'll move to this activity, please. So try to scan it in your, you can scan this one. You didn't have the handouts? Yeah, that's okay. Yes, that's okay. You can have one. It's okay.
I don't have it.
You can download it.
Oh, it will take time.
Okay, where is the store?
I will find it. What's the QR? Is it?
QR code reader. Yeah, please. So I'd like really to see the response. Okay, okay, great. Okay, there is a take-home message behind that. That if you have, yeah, it's still unlocked. Yeah, if there is a problem, so you can fix it without changing the link, without changing the code. So I'm going to fix it right now. Now you are not able really to participate, right? So what I'm going to do, very simple like this. It's in my account. It's the evaluation of the learning model. It's this one. So what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to go to responses and then activate receiving your feedback, please. Now you can. Now you can. So I'll see who's the first respondent, huh? I'll see who's the first. I'll see who's the first. By the way, also you can ask your student just to see who's the first one, if there is a need really to do so. QR code reader. QR code reader. Any of them.
QR reader 4 or 5. This one?
Yes, anything.
Can you help me? This one?
Is it yeah, this one.
Why it is not clicking?
Yes.
Okay.
Then follow the link. Yes.